Welcome back, webheads, to the next episode of Spidey Swing-Bys. Today, we're going to be going through every chronological appearance of Spider-Man by release order with issues Amazing Spider-Man number 22 and Fantastic Four 36. We got to start off as we always do. Sorry, I am rusty because I missed a past couple of weeks. Just had no time to do this, so I apologize for the break. But we're back, and we're going to do this bad boy for Amazing Spider-Man 22 and Fantastic Four 36. For Amazing Spider-Man 22, we have our release date being December 10th, 1964. The story is presenting the Clown and his Masters of Menace instead of the Circles of Crime, and written by Stan Lee, penciled by Steve Ditko, inked by Steve Ditko, lettered by Artie Simek, edited by Stan Lee. What else was going on in Marvel this month besides Fantastic Four, number 36? Well, we head into Daredevil, number 6, where Mr. Fear appears for the first time and recruits Ox and the Eel to kill Daredevil. Ox, of course, being from the Enforcers in Spider-Man. Then we go next to Journey into Mystery 113, where the Grey Gargoyle menaces Thor and Jane Foster as Thor tries and fails to reveal his secret identity to her. Then we have Tales to Astonish 65. Where Giant Man creates a garish new costume and causes problems by allowing different animals to be affected by PIM particles, while the Hulk is captured by some dirty commies and has to escape their clutches. Then we get to Avengers 13, where the Avengers face off against the might of Count Nefaria and the Magia, both appearing for the first time in this issue, both of which have connections to Spider-Man. We'll get to there forever from now. Then we get to Sergeant Fury 15, where Nick Fury rescues a young boy, Hans Rutten, who doesn't know that his father's a double agent working against the Nazis. Then we have Strange Tales 130. Oh boy. Where the Human Torch and Thing try and fail to see a Beatles concert. One of the most gratuitous storylines of all time, developed in the midst of Beatlemania. Oh my, it's so bad. And at the meantime, Doctor Strange is attacked by Baron Mordo, and you say it with me, surprise, surprise, a much better story than with the Human Torch and the Thing. Then we get to Tales of Suspense 63, where Iron Man wrestles with the machinations of the Phantom as Captain America explores his own origin story. And with that, that's it for Marvel. Outside of what we have to cover today, which is, of course, Amazing Spider-Man 22, and then Fantastic Four 36. We're going to start with Amazing Spider-Man 22. And let's go get into this bad boy. Yeah. So, in narration, in a way that only Stan could provide, in a sleazy hotel room in a shabby hotel, some sneaky sinners are startled by the sight of a sparkling spider signal. Yeah, you ever have those moments when you read something else that someone's written and you go, "Yeah, I know they were laughing," or "I know they were just giggling," and being like, "I am so clever. I'm so cool. I can see Stan doing this right now." And being like, "Yep, I'm done writing for the day. I've got my narration for the first panel of the story done." So we continue there to see that the Circus of Crime has gotten out of prison and Spider-Man has come after them. Which, by the way, they were released in what was it? No, they were captured in issue 16, and now 6 issues later, they're out. Wow, that's pretty good. Good behavior, I suppose. So, Spider-Man messes with him, steals the Ringmaster's hat, and then places a Spidey tracer on it, very deftly. Tells him, "Hey, just make sure you stay out of my way. And don't call me, I'll call you." And now that he knows where the ringmaster's going to be, he can just leave. So a very smart and clever scheme on his part. We don't really get any preamble to this story. He just kind of knows, oh, they've been released. I know what they're about. I fought them last time. This time, I'm going to tell them, hey, be on the straight and narrow. But what happens here is because the ringmaster was essentially manhandled by Spider-Man, the rest of the Circus of Crime has no place for him. So we get the Clown, telling him that he struck out twice. He doesn't want to wait for a third strike. They want to pull a new caper as a new person has shown up. This, of course, being Princess Python, who has never appeared before now, but acts like she's been here the entire time. And kind of a messed up, almost kind of like in how the Black Widow was introduced in Tales of Suspense a while back, kind of way, just as a femme fatale type. And she tells the ringmaster that his time's up, and now they have to be led by someone clever and crafty, someone who can think on his feet, who people will trust, someone like the Clown. You remember from Amazing Spider-Man 16 or 17, whichever one it was, where the Clown was definitely the smartest person in the group, and even before that, when they appeared in the Incredible Hulk. Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's our leader now, which of course they say he is. They then take the ringmaster out, beat him up, and force him to leave. They are now going to be known as the Masters of Menace, which is not a bad name compared to the Circus of Crime. Then we go to Peter Parker's school at Midtown High, where he's looking at some chemical discoveries of Dr. Henry Pym and wondering if he himself should specialize in biochemistry or physics, which is something that writers still haven't figured out to this day. Is he a physics major? Is he a chemistry major? Doesn't matter. They're not going to let him graduate because we can't have Spider-Man grow up. That'd be bad. Liz Allen tries to get his attention. Flash, of course, is very upset. But Peter, knowing that Betty is already angry at him for what he did with Doris Evans, decides that he's not going to live that life. He goes off to see Betty and explains the situation to her, which, oh, imagine that. Actually explaining the situation works in your favor. And actually listening to the person you thought you misunderstood works. And, and he explains that she was just trying to make Johnny jealous. And then Betty says, "Oh, Peter, you must think that I'm just a jealous, foolish female with dialogue written by Stan Lee," which it most assuredly is. And he then tells her that, maybe you are, but you're also the prettiest, nicest, most wonderful gal I know, which butters her up. And they have to go because Jameson is hosting an art gala. Sure. And in the process of this, Peter and Betty come, and Peter makes a great remark. If this stuff is art, I'm glad I'm a science major, as the Masters of Menace are now on their way to break into this place. And with the most subtle plan of all time, the Clown appears and starts juggling some balls and says that he's there as the entertainment courtesy of J. Jonah Jameson, which feeds off of Jonah's ego, which one of the reasons I don't like this issue, because Jonah's smarter than that. Even early Jonah, he would be up in arms about this. So as they're stealing the art, Peter recognizes what's going on. The Clown, being smart and clever, whatever the heck else they called him, says, realizes Peter's about to do something, but he can't change into Spider-Man now. And Jameson finally realizes what's going on, attacks the Masters of Menace, and is beaten up by Cannonball, whatever the heck his name is. I don't know. Yeah, these characters don't matter. They're such nothing people. Jameson's knocked out. The police arrive. They've got to get him to the hospital. And Peter goes to walk Betty home. That way, it removes suspicion of him being Spider-Man as well. And once that happens, and exactly 10 seconds after Betty Brant's door is closed behind her, he goes to try and find the Ringmaster, uses his Spidey tracer to locate him, finds that he's being interrogated by the police, but he has an alibi, so he wasn't there, and obviously he wasn't. So he's talking, pacing to himself. He's got a good mind to tell the cops where to find them because he wants them to take the fall and maybe might even get some reward money. And he'll steal the loot from him. So Peter then comes in, webs up the hat, and in a very villainous move, by the way, removing someone's free will, which is what this villain, his MO is all about. Spider-Man hypnotizes him to tell him where, the old hideout is so he can go find it. The Ringmaster tells him. Spider-Man then calls, and calls the hospital to see if Jameson's okay. But he kind of realizes it sounded like someone speaking through a mask, and he goes off to now that they've officially called themselves the Masters of Minutes. Sorry, I gotta have myself. And goes to confront them. He then slugs it out with the different, very important members of the Masters of Menace. Those classic Marvel characters. They definitely got their own spin-off movie at some point in time, or Sony would if they had their way. And he manages to beat a couple of them up, but he is messed with by Princess Python, which, she tells him that she's going to give him a chance to surrender before they destroy him. And he tells her he's not in a surrendering mood, which is a pretty good line there. As Princess Python holds on to him, and he thinks, suffering spider webs. What do I do now? I can't fight a female. I can't use force against her. But if she doesn't let go, the others will pulverize me. So rather than do anything because he just can't hurt a girl, Peter thinks, why do the women in my life always cause nothing but trouble? Because you're in a superhero soap opera, buddy. Then eventually, after an hour lasts, the webbing on the ringmaster's hat goes away. He doesn't realize what happens, tries to figure out what to do. The doctor talks about how Jameson should recover, which is Betty is happy about. But she hasn't seen Peter, which makes her suspicious. Spider-Man is being wailed on by the Masters of Menace. Very so I can't take these. I don't have a high opinion of the story. I don't know how you could have ever figured that out from how I'm talking about this. Blah blah blah. He managed to beat some of them up again, but Princess Python messes with him again and tries to get him, tries to flirt with him. Which, hey, very attractively drawn woman. I get it. So Peter doesn't react too much, and the clown gets upset because, of course, he's clever and all that mess. And the ringmaster goes to take out anyone, a police guy and not in his uniform sees him running away. Princess Python tries to unmask Spider-Man, and that fails. So she sicks her Python Precious on him to kill Spider-Man, and that way they could possibly get away. Peter then takes out the the snake by getting it to wrap up into a knot, which is like the first time someone's thought of it. When was the first time that happened in any fictional media? I'm genuinely curious because that's a trope for a reason. Where did it start out? So the clown tries to get away with the priceless paintings until he is accosted by the ringmaster, who is trying to get his revenge on him for what he's done. Betraying him with the circus of crime. Now the Masters of Menace. Princess Python is never beaten up by Spider-Man because we can't have a man beating up a woman in our superhero comics. Is taken in by the police instead. The rest are arrested. Jameson has recovered. He's about to fire Peter, even though he's a freelancer, until Peter reveals that he has the pictures of the clown in his game, which Jameson will pay for, and he's got to make a new art exhibit to cash in on the publicity. Peter goes back home, hoping Aunt May isn't awake. She is. She's very upset with him, and that's the end. Womp womp. This is such a nothing issue. I have a hard time even bringing critiques to this one. The Masters of Menace are so boring. Princess Python comes out of nowhere. She's used more effectively way later on. The clown proves that he's an idiot and has no business leading a group. I have nothing but disdain for this one. This is going to be the lowest one I've ever ranked on this. I'm giving it like a 4 out of 10. It's just bad. It's just bad. This outside of some of the inner dynamics, with Liz and Betty and the triangle there, and a little bit with Aunt May and Jameson with supporting cast stuff. That's fine. The actual main story is bad. So we're going to move on from there into Fantastic Four 36. And let's see, we're covering this for Spider-Man, so surely he has he appears a lot here, right? Well, we'll get there when we get there. This, of course, was released on December 10th, 1964. The story is called The Frightful Four, the first appearance of this group. This is written by Stan Lee, penciled by Jack Kirby, inked by Chick Stone, lettered by Artie Simek, and edited by Stan Lee. All right. So, in context, Mr. Fantastic, Invisible Girl. She won't be woman until the 80s, which is real bad, but that's what it is. Have announced their engagement. The press is all over it. They're the superhero couple of the year, and someone has given them an engagement present. And Ben, the thing, has noticed that it's from the Yancey Street Gang, realizes it's a bomb, tries to get everyone out of the way until it explodes, and it's a bunch of flowers. I love Ben and the Yancey Street Gang. Their rivalry is one of the best parts of the Fantastic Four, and it's something that almost never really gets any focus on, especially in more modern times. But when it does, it's such a nice callback to like him growing up in this group of street toughs, and then like, oh, you're so big and popular now, aren't you, Mr. Thing? And just messing with them, and then by proxy, messing with the family of the Fantastic Four. Priceless. Is it a cruel prank? Yes, but it's also the Yankee Street Gang, so they're fine. So we see the Trapster, or is it Paste Pot Pete now? Is it Trapster? Yeah, it's still Paste Pot Pete at this point in time. He is to be meeting the Sandman. Does so, finds the Sandman, who says that he's tackled Spider-Man, lived to tell of it. And in fact, for a little bit, he actually kind of becomes a Fantastic Four villain because he joins the Frightful Four here. Then we meet the Wizard, not in his costume, as they figure out that they're going to do something special. They're going to team up and take down the Fantastic Four. And he tells them a story about how he met a mysterious woman named Madame Medusa, who is going to trap them. And he eventually gets her to join up with them. We will learn much more about Medusa later on, but not in this show because we're covering Spider-Man, not the Fantastic Four. Turns out she's an Inhuman. Imagine that. So Johnny leaves the party after announcing it's going on so that he can go and do his own thing. The Wizard then organizes the Frightful Four together to take out the Fantastic Four after this party is over, because even they're not dumb enough to attack every single person who is here, because we have a who's who of Marvel right now. The X-Men are here, and Professor Xavier, who at this time is not known as their benefactor. So they're keeping that secret. And of course, we see that in Iceman's thought balloons there. Then we have the Avengers greeting Reed Richards and, congratulating him with Thor, saying, may the blessings of Asgard grace your coming marriage. Rick Jones, of course, is a little upset because he wishes that Bruce Banner could be here. But we all know as the Hulk, he's definitely not the party kind of guy. And Ben explains to Alicia who Professor X is. Then we go to the reason we all came here today. Are you excited? Are you ready to see Spider-Man appear in this comic? Well, here you go. So Professor X gives a command to the X-Men. It's time for them to leave. They make some lie about how they're going to call him a taxi. And then we get our panel. Our boy is here. As we get a thought balloon, I'm sure they would have invited me if they knew where to find me. So I'll just help myself to a piece of cake. Uh-oh, I'd better leave. There's some kind of ship coming. As that right there, that hand is all the Spider-Man that appears in this comic, where he webs up a piece of cake, which I'm sure is going to taste awful now, and then leaves. That's it. We can stop right here, but we're going to keep going. And see, the Frightful Four have waited till everyone is gone. The Thing has gone to sleep. They managed to take him out, bind him with, Paste Pot Pete's, whatever you call the heck he has. I forget off the top of my head. They didn't fight the other members of the Fantastic Four, beat up the Invisible Girl, and Mr. Fantastic, and they managed to subdue them. Alicia Masters being the only person that they have failed to do this to. So she manages to sneak to where Sue is at since for those of you who don't know, Alicia is blind, so she is having to do this very quietly at a place where she has no clue what's going on, so she could be detected at any point in time. This is a massive heroic feat from her. She manages to take out Sue's flare gun and call Johnny, who is elsewhere, to come and save them. They then fight against the Frightful Four. Johnny saves them from being launched into space with like the Wizard's anti-gravity stuff. And the Frightful Four leave. The Fantastic Four reign supreme. That's the end. This is a fine issue. I know I went over a lot because it's more a Spider-Man podcast than a Fantastic Four one. But this is an extremely well done issue. I really enjoy it. We got some nice cameos. They're not like gratuitous in any way, shape, or form outside of Spider-Man's, but it's still fun. Like you can tell they were having fun by putting his hand there on the panel and saying, "Hey, Spider-Man's in here, guys." So this one I'm giving far better than the Amazing Spider-Man 22. I'm giving this one a 9 out of 10. This is an excellent introduction to the Frightful Four, to Medusa, to these villains, and allows the Sandman to become even more prominent in the Marvel Universe, so he's not just tangling with Spider-Man. This is a phenomenal issue, a very fun issue. So with that, next time we will be discussing Amazing Spider-Man 23. And I've forgotten how to end the show because it's been some time. Ah, goodness gracious. So until next time, webheads, see ya.